Uh, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andres Diaz, and I'm one of the leadership members for the Global Health Alliance. And we're really happy to have you join us this afternoon and our panelists to have a conversation about international careers in global health and what those look like. We have four panelists gathered that have different but extensive experiences in this field and have experience in career building and how they in reflections on how they built their career. And we're really privileged to have them here. First, I'm going to share a brief bio of these individuals, but then we would like each of the panelists to provide some more extensive details on their work and how they got to where they currently are. So Dr. Naqib Safi is an accomplished public health and emergency management expert. He currently holds the position of adjunct professor of public health at the College of Public Health and serves as director of ERADA. Dr. Safi has extensive experience in global health endeavors, including but not limiting work with UNICEF in New York City, the Bahamas, and South Yemen, environmental disaster responses nationally and internationally, and cholera response in Yemen as a team leader of a $200 million World Bank grant. Dr. Safi has a medical MD degree from Kabul University, a Master's of Community Health from Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, an MBA from Edinburgh Business School of Heriot-Watt University of the UK, leadership training both from Berkeley Haas School of Business and the INSEAD in France, and a postgraduate diploma in HIV management from Stellenbosch University. Erin Lockley earned her MPH in Global Maternal Child Health from the UA in 2015. Erin started her career in 2003 working in nonprofits in Chicago, but afterwards became inspired to change careers to global health after reading about Dr. Paul Farmer's work in Haiti. Before earning an MPH as a Peace Corps Courbadel Fellow, Erin served the Peace Corps in Niger and then Benin, where she encountered Dr. Paul Farmer in an escalator, which was a life-changing experience for her, which I'm sure we're all excited to hear about. She has experience leading school feeding programs in Burkina Faso, emergency response planning in Mali and Uganda, and migration programming in West Africa. Presently, Erin serves as a telecommuter for Catholic Relief Services based in Washington, D.C. Dr. Preshit Ambade is a postdoctoral fellow at Ottawa Hospital Research Institute in Canada. He previously served as Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellow from 2012 to 2015, appointed by the Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, to work in one of the country's development deficit areas. His research interests include healthcare financing, health insurance coverage in developing countries, health disparities, economic evaluations in healthcare, and improving health insurance coverage for ethnic and low-income groups. Last but not least, Dr. John Ehiri. Dr. Ehiri is a professor of public health in the Department of Health Promotion Sciences and the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the College of Public Health in the University of Arizona. Dr. Ehiri served as chair of the Department of Health Promotion Sciences from 2009 to 2020. Until October 2020, he led the Data Tracking and Evaluation Core for NIH All of Us research program at the University of Arizona. Currently, Dr. Ehiri is principal investigator for evaluation of the 1815 chronic disease prevention program funded by the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention through the Arizona Department of Health Services. Dr. Ehiri's research and teaching focus on social and behavioral aspects of public health, specifically on maternal, child, and adolescent health. He holds a Master of Public Health and a PhD in Public Health from the University of Glasgow, Scotland, in addition to an MSc in Economics and Health Policy and Planning from the University of Wales. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're very excited to hear from you.
Thank you. Quite an elaborative, what do you call, bio. It's a lot of detail that you see that really is me. How do we want to proceed?
So we wanted to proceed by giving each panelist 5 minutes to, obviously you all have very extensive experiences, and we're only able to say so much to allot some time for questions. But if each panelist would want to share more about their work and how they got to their current position for about 5 minutes each, and then we can begin with some questions from the participants here and from our question list. If Dr. Safi, if you would like to start.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. I think everyone has a different journey. In my 30 years of work, one thing which all of us, we should not underestimate, being in the right place in the right time is extremely important. Most of us, where we started, how we started, I'm sure if you are not familiar with the book of Outliers, I would strongly recommend that you have a look at the Outlier to see how things work. But in addition to that, I have been privileged. I started my school early, went to university early. I finished medical school at the age of 22. And that helped me to have a head start of 30 years career and still being young and moving. When there are limited opportunities, you either find ways, and I was one of the very few people, probably one person per year or two people per year was getting a scholarship in the previous round of Taliban in Afghanistan. I was one of them. So it was an exceptional opportunity. And I went to study Masters of Community Health where I met John 22, 23 years ago. And from there, it's basically being in the right place, right time, and also being able to network. Few things that most people don't realize, that how do we carry ourselves, how do we connect, how do we network, how we build a brand. People industry spend money on the brand. How we brand, create our own brand in terms of repetition. How do we market our stuff? One of the things, if you see, I have moved from health to public health to business to HIV to leadership. It's supply and demand. You have to understand what are in the market, what is needed, and how you can move from point A to point B. One of the reasons I did my diploma in HIV management, it was a 1-year, very intensive course, because in that time, there were not many people who were dealing with HIV. So, and when I did it in South Africa, I was privileged again because of my master's degree work. I did my field thesis in South Africa. I was exposed to the place. And I had the knowledge and information. So it was, again, that provided me the opportunity. I studied, and that gave me a unique position. Someone who has a master's and then a diploma in HIV management that not many had. So I landed to be the national program manager for HIV, to lead the Global Fund program for my own country. The first proposal ever we have successfully achieved, secured grant for it. It was the second round of the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. From there, again, with whom do you interact? What type of meetings do you attend? When you commit on something, you have to deliver. That's a brand you're building. In a meeting, you might be really taking it serious or very casual. You commit to something and you don't do it. You don't meet the deadline. Make sure when you sit there and you commit to something, you deliver on it, no matter what. If you cannot communicate with those people back. So, and then there are professional skills and there are soft skills. We, most of the time, and especially people from different cultures have different views of leadership, and being the most prominent, loud person in the room sometimes doesn't help. I have had my own fair share of those mistakes. I thought probably being the loudest person in the room is someone that you're the most important one, or sitting on the top of the table. Gradually, by the passage of time, you learn that I think if you're the good listener, it helps more than being the loudest person. And you build relationship, and you also sustain those relationships. You work on it. Again, for networking, if some of you do have access and time to read books, a guy called Keith Ferrazzi, he has written quite a number of books, and one of the books that I don't agree that you have to do it step by step, but it will give you a very good overview of networking, how you can network, how you can maintain network, how you can nurture it. It's called Never Eat Alone, and it's a good book. Have a look at it. So these are some of the things, and then afterwards you accept and going to places where there's least competition. Once you build the experience, then you're the experienced person everybody wants you. If you want to stay in your comfort zone and you don't go beyond that, I don't think you will get anything. So there will be a number of things that we will be talking today in terms of soft skill, what one need to do in terms of hard skills and education and additional qualification, what one need to do in order to be positioned in uniquely. If you are an MPH, MD, whatever, so there are so many of them. What else do you want to bring? Do you want to bring some experience in specific country? Do you have a specific language skill that in that language there are not many people? French, for example, West Africa, French. If you speak French, you have a job. I can guarantee that. Then after French, Arabic. How many of you speak Arabic? If not, Spanish. But Spanish, there is a different level of qualification, but still you would need that language. If someone is hiring someone, it's not only English all the time, it helps. In current situation, if you spoke Ukrainian or Russian, you will be the first to go and be in Ukraine. Everybody's looking for them. During the Ebola time, everybody was looking for some French speakers to put them in Western Africa, some of the French-speaking countries like Guinea or DRC. So it is those soft skills, and then further education, like how do you really want to handle that? What do you want to do in terms of, okay, I did my master's and I'm done, hasta luego, I'm moving towards my direction. Probably you need to see what is the trend. Do you have any specific data analytics skills, data visualization skills? Do you have any epidemiology skills? Do you have anything else that it make you to stand out of the crowd? And then we will have a little bit for later on when we have a discussion. But these are some of the things somehow I have followed through either consciously or subconsciously. I didn't know much theoretical aspect of it probably, but I have followed it, and I landed where I am. Now I'm lucky to be part of the team in the University of Arizona. And in the leadership course where we really discuss different traits and behaviors and characteristics and theories of motivation and how do you influence, and I hear exceptional stories of people, and that is also something that we really need to build and learn from our own peers, from every single exposure. And I have been lucky to really deal with all of that. And here we are after 31 years of public health career. And I hope, there will be many opportunities to really contribute to a few upcoming projects that I have it right now under my radar. And I think me and John will be talking about it later on, maybe. So that's a very brief introduction to come to, but whatever we do, it should be coming with a little bit of humility and understanding that we don't understand much. One thing which I just want to again look at it, that when many graduates they go to the field, they think they know it all. They have studied the theories, and but we don't understand the dynamic on the ground. Who is who, how these different roles and responsibilities. In consultation with Dr. Ehiri, I have designed this one course of the management of global vulnerable health emergencies. And it is basically, what is cluster? How do you coordinate? What is communication? Who is who? How do you develop a plan? How do you develop a resource mobilization appeal? How, like some of the generic things that it is in the humanitarian field, public health field, when you go out of the United States, that's routinely accepted. And most of us, we do not get that knowledge in the university during our degree. And these are some of the things that it really help us to have a hands-on practice, to understand some things. When we go, we remember, oh yeah, there is a resource I can access this, and this is what we need to do. So these are some of the things that probably we can have in the question and answers or a follow-up question. I will stop here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Safi. Erin Lockley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks. I think we can shut it down because it sounds like Dr. Safi said basically everything you need to know. Most of what I would have also said. Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. So as mentioned in my bio, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Niger and Benin, where I got some exposure to public health. And during my internship at U of A, I interned for USAID in Zambia, the US Agency for International Development, with the idea that, okay, this is my chance, like for networking between my first and second year, perhaps I'll figure out a plan for the future. I really thought USAID was going to be it for me. But during that internship, I took advantage of being able to network not only with people at USAID, but other nonprofit organizations, humanitarian aid organizations that were working in Zambia. And I actually just happened to be kind of Googling one day fellowships that were available in international development and came across Catholic Relief Services. I thought, oh, this sounds interesting. I wonder if anyone at USAID in Zambia in this expat community knows anybody down the street at CRS. And they actually, connected me with the current fellow that year. And we had a conversation about what that was like. And I ended up applying for the fellowship in my second year at UA and ended up getting the fellowship. So I went right into that fellowship after graduation and have been with Catholic Relief Services ever since. That fellowship is designed for like entry-level international program managers. So I thought I went off to Madagascar to work on a large food security project in the fall of 2015. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this food security thing, and then, I'll get into a technical track for health and things will be like amazing and great. And they have been. But my route has been a little bit more circuitous. My first job out of the fellowship was a health system strengthening position in Guinea. And I very quickly realized what Dr. Safi was saying about sort of like local knowledge and the realities of the ground or like the field, I guess, and sort of realized that there's so many more people working in our country program, local staff who have a significantly better understanding of the local health system than I do and ever will. So I did that position for a year or so, got roped into going to Mali, working on an emergency response for internally displaced people from northern Mali. That's a sort of protracted emergency that's been, ongoing for many years now. And I kept saying yes to things. I made these connections with our heads of program at CRS in the region, with country representatives who recognized, oh, Erin will go. Erin's flexible. She's adaptable. She speaks French. Best decision I ever made as like an 8th grader was to take French. It honestly like really has shaped my career in the best way. So I kept sort of going where I was asked to go. I never said no to anything. And so as a result, in the past almost 8 years, I've worked on shelter programming in refugee camps. I've worked on a migration project, supervised program managers in a 5-country project in West Africa. I went to Haiti in 2021 for the first time following the earthquake and did earthquake response, like on the ground, work with my colleagues there. A whole variety of programs over time, school feeding in Burkina Faso, which was an amazing experience, in which I did tap into that like nutrition and health, background for sure. But all along, I was also volunteering on the side, kind of, to contribute to proposals, project design, things like that, and kind of sharpen my skills with that. And because I'm able in French and understand culturally what's going on, able to pull that technical knowledge that we need for really solid proposals from my colleagues, and have developed those relationships over time. And really good cross-cultural communications has been absolutely critical, and taking time to understand sort of culturally what's going on and how things operate. So I had that experience, almost as not a second full-time job, but putting in some extra hours to get that experience. And so now I've kind of pivoted a little bit, still doing some program management when needed, but I'm more focused now on our funding strategy and proposal coordination. So in Haiti, I'm the only telecommuter for our roughly 250 person country program for CRS. But I work with, we primarily work with US government donors. So USAID, Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance, USDA funding, in addition to some European Union funding. But I'm the one who's often writing the proposals, coming up with, okay, we know that hurricane season is coming. What do we need to do to be ready to apply for funding, at the drop of a hat if something does happen? Do we have the staffing in place that we need? How are we coordinating with other NGOs? How are we coordinating with the government of Haiti? How are we managing this crisis situation in Haiti at the moment? How do we have enough vehicles that can take alternate routes to not go through gang-controlled areas? All these different factors that make things very, very interesting. So yeah, it's been, not solely public health, but public health has factored into every single project that we have in some way, one way or another, especially in emergencies where you have Haiti now, cholera, water and sanitation issues, things like that. So it's been very interesting, but I would echo what Dr. Safi said on being super adaptable, flexible, just say yes, and you're going to be led. So yeah, thanks for having me today.
Thank you so much. Next we'll have, oh, my apologies. Can you hear me? Next we'll have Dr. Preshit Ambade.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm feeling so happy now after, couple of, it's been a while I wasn't in touch with college, and all of a sudden this opportunity come to talk to you all, and especially seeing Dr. Ehiri and Michael today. So it was quite a joyful moment for me. As of now, Erin and Dr. Safi has spoken about, their experiences. Of course, they are more experienced than me in terms of the career. I will give you some insights in terms of if somebody wants to become an academician or a researcher, how you can start, as an early career researcher. And I will give you my story as well. So my journey in public health started when I became a physician back in India, and I was observing a lot of community level challenges which were beyond one doctor to solve, and those challenges needed some high level intervention. And I was constantly thinking how we can make a difference at local level. So I decided to pursue Masters in Health Administration from one of the India's premier institute called Tata Institute of Social Sciences. It is one of the oldest public health institute in India, which offered these types of programs. And that program opened a lot of avenues for me to utilize and utilize my knowledge and make an impact at maybe state level and national level. I joined a Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship, which was mentioned in my bio. It was a very honorable fellowship Government of India started, and we were placed in a very remote areas of India, which were also conflict prone. There was a left-wing extremism happening in those districts, which were hampering development programs. So our job was to bridge a gap between tribal population there, native population, and government, and create a sort of trust among the local residents. So they kind of leave violence and turn towards more fruitful avenues for development. So that actually opened again, that added to my experience, and I realized at ground level what could work and what couldn't, and it also kind of created an urge in me to know more, seek more information, how to create these programs, how to evaluate them, and that's why I decided to pursue my Doctor of Public Health from University of Arizona. So after coming here, then I wanted to look at India's public health programs, because that's what my experience is in, and I always play on my strengths. That is something some of you might also consider. You should always play on your strengths, what you know, and seek out what you don't know. So my approach was coming to United States, knowing what is happening here in terms of health insurance program, because that point of time India was also introducing health insurance, national health insurance program back in 2008, 2009. And I was clearly seeing how healthcare financing was shifting in India, and we were becoming more and more like US. Unfortunately, it is good or bad, I don't know, but that's what was happening. So I decided to focus on that front and create my expertise, and that's why you'll see my research focus now is around healthcare financing, what kind of different models are there in US, globally, and I try to evaluate the impact of those programs. So as an international student, what you should do when you come to United States is completely immerse in a local health system. That one advice I will give, and keep your ears and eyes open. Look for interdisciplinary, inter-college opportunities as well. I took a lot of classes from sociology department. I went to economics department as well. I took a lot of classes in agricultural economics, because econometrics is and statistics is pretty much required when you evaluate programs. You need to have a very solid understanding of statistics. So I reach out to those colleges, and I found very good mentors. Apart from what we have in MEZCOPH, I also able to find some interesting professors in across the colleges, and also interesting opportunities. Like I interned with the governor's office in Arizona. So can you imagine, like as an international student, that was a very interesting opportunity for me to understand how government operates in United States. So you have to keep your eyes and ears open if you are looking for such kind of opportunities. And when I was living in 2020, I also volunteered with county department when COVID was hitting, and I volunteered with local nonprofit organizations in food distribution, administering vaccine shots. That also gave me a very unique perspective of how things were operating in United States. So in my head, I created that kind of unique picture of these two different systems, which helped me to understand what can happen in both parts of the world and study them appropriately. So when I moved to Canada for my first fellowship, I applied, this experience from United States and as well as from India to work with homeless population there. And we designed some study projects there. I was a co-PI because of the knowledge and this networking, whatever I got. I was able to propose some studies, and right now I'm a co-PI on almost $100,000 US project. So I think it's a good start as a as an international student who wants to pursue academia. So networking, as previous speakers have spoken about, is very essential, and keeping your eyes and ears open is also very important. And I will stop as of now, and if you have any further questions, I'll definitely happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ambade. And last but not least, Dr. Ehiri, if you could please introduce yourself. And again, we have some attendees here who are eager to ask questions. So just for all the panelists.
Thank you so much. So I will keep my intro brief. Actually, Andres, you said so much about my training and qualifications, so I'm not going to go over those. But I just wanted to mention that if I tell people that I have been in public health for over 40 years, and they come out, they see me, I'm sure they'll be expecting to see a 90-something or 80-something-year-old man. But I think the fact is that I've been in public health since leaving high school. This is all I have known. This is all I have done. I started my training initially in environmental health. That was my first degree. I never really considered being a professor that I am today, but the fact was that I was 4 of top graduating students in my year when I was graduating, and the college was looking for individuals who would help to train future public health professionals. And they actually begged 4 of us to stay, similar to what Erin was saying. I was one of few that agreed to stay, even though at the time there was really no incentive to be a professor at the time. So that's how I got into teaching, and I've done this for all those years. Before moving to the UK, I moved to the UK at the age of 27 for my MPH, and then I did a PhD and the MS. But I think, the thing I take the most pride in is not that I bring to global health. It's not the PhD and the MSc and the MPH. It's my lived experiences in those 7 years. They still shape who I am today. They still shape how I view global health. I have seen the terminology change from international health, from community health to international health to global health. But growing up and living in Nigeria, and also living through a civil war as a kid, now when I see those photos, they bring back memories. Safi just gave a presentation on emergency wars and emergencies in my class, and I was just, thinking about my own lived experiences. So, yeah, so lived experiences one would be my first, what I bring to global health. The other thing is that I take pride in is the caliber of individuals that I have trained over the years. Many of the individuals that I've trained in global health are now leaders. In my own country, Nigeria, our director for national primary healthcare was my student. The first internal minister for health in South Sudan was my student at Liverpool. Dr. Safi, I don't know if you remember Dr. Olivia Lomoro. She was I think she was before you, or was she part of your group? But so, and there are many others.
She was doing PhD then when we were there. So she would come and take some class with us.
Yeah, once in a while they send me a memo and remind me of some of the things that I taught them that they were now finding useful in their current job. So, but I think my colleagues have made several important points that I don't want to repeat. I want to take on what Dr. Ambade said. about reaching out across the U of A campus. Our college is a small college, so when you are enrolled in the University of Arizona, every resource that the University of Arizona has is at your disposal. Don't limit yourself to the College of Public Health. We're very limited in terms of what we can offer, in terms of what we have. We're just one of many colleges of the University of Arizona. So reach out to all of the resources that you have, reach out to professors across campus, shake as many hands within the university as you can. Dr. Safi also talked about gaining experience. I think experience is important. Everybody, when you graduate, you have the same qualification that everybody has. I've said this numerous times, even when I was a department chair. When you hire someone, you don't hire them on the basis of their GPA. And I think if there's no other more important point that I'll make today, to be this whole focus on GPAs. That's not what employers are looking for. Employers are looking for people who can help them do the job. You have passed your courses, you have done well, your GPA is great. But even when I was a department chair, I never based hiring anybody on their GPAs. I based it on what they bring to the table, what they're able to do. So getting those skills, whether it's in evaluation, whether it's in data management, whether it's in nutrition, I think those are important. Erin talked about not saying no. I've always given you one of my own example that landed me here. I didn't say no to being a teacher. And I think, I would say that it's been a great experience for me because it has really, really provided me with opportunities to know people like you, to travel around the world, to contribute to health and development through my research, teaching, and publications, and all of the individuals that I've trained over the years. So I'll stop there and be happy to answer additional questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the panelists for introducing and giving us a little bit more context about your work and your journeys. Just to introduce myself again for those who've come in, I'm Chepkoch Kimaru, and I'm the president of the Global Health Alliance at MEZCOPH. So I'd like to now open the floor for questions from the students who are in this discussion today. If you don't have any questions, we do have some pre-prepared questions that we could start with.
I have a question. That's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Hi everyone. I'm Max. Nice to meet you all. I'm a third-year medical student, and I'm at the point where I kind of have to decide on a specialty. And I speak a few languages, and I'm really interested in global health. And focusing my career on kind of global health. What specialty would you recommend is the best in terms of being able to be useful in a global health setting? Are you thinking family medicine, pediatrics, infectious disease, emergency medicine, ophthalmology, surgery?
I don't know who want to take that, but I just wanted to say, there are several areas that people overlook in global health, and there are so many areas where we have very, very many people. Several years ago, one of my students really opened my eyes, who was also doing the MD, MPH program. She really opened my eyes to the importance of emergency medicine in global health. It's an area where we don't have many people. She ended up doing her internship around that area, but it really showed me how little, emphasis we place in those areas. We know, for example, that road traffic injuries are one of the major causes of mortality and morbidity in low and middle income countries. And we have very, very few facilities and individuals who are trained in this area. So the only reason why I wanted to pick that out, I think everyone might say, family medicine, pediatrics, and so on and so forth, but that's a unique area that is in great need, and where many individuals, don't even consider as an option when they are going into global health. So I'll just stop there. I have my MD colleagues here, and thank you so much also, Dr. Kama Okafor, prospective PhD students who just joined us from the University of Lagos in Nigeria. So I would defer to my colleagues who are MDs, Dr. Ambade, Dr. Lizungu, Dr. Safi, to chime in there as well.
Yeah, my response will be not pure like from the medical perspective, but I have a few other questions before even I give him a response. His family life, personal life, how does he want it to be? You know, do you want to be staying in one place, having regular routine, going to the gym, going to the kindergarten of your children and going to work? Or you want to have a career where it's spanning around different things? Like I have worked in 18 countries. That I have been to 18 countries where I stayed over 6 months. And it requires, there's always a trade-off. Normally what I would do, people who wanted to choose areas, apart from other research, one of the research that I would suggest to them, say, hey, go back, search in last 3 months, 200 vacancies, randomly review them, the 200 vacancies of last 3 months in your area of expertise that you think, like in the medicine, etc., and see what are the top needs. Go to LinkedIn, go to wherever, look what are the top needs. And this will identify, this will guide you, hey, there's a need in this area. This is the area where there's a high demand right now. And apart from that, second advice will be choose something which is small, narrow, focused, specialized. So you're avoiding competition. You're becoming the expert of your field. You're developing certain skills that everybody does not have it. If you're a French speaker with a project management skills and in the global health, you're done. You know how to manage projects. You have experience there. You're the infectious disease specialist. But remember, if you're the infectious disease specialist, everybody doesn't enter work in CDC in Atlanta. You will be sitting in a village somewhere and dealing with a disease as well. So these are some of the things that I would suggest, one, look at it and then have a consultation with himself, or, more than happy to have a follow-up discussion to say, hey, these are the pros and cons, and are you ready for this? So that will be my input to this question.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we'll transition to one of the questions from our list and then go back to our attendees. So I'll start with the first question. What are some credentials or skill sets beyond our formal graduate training that are valuable when working in global health?
I will wait for others to respond. If not, then I will interview.
My experience is mostly related to academia. So I thought any certifications, such as if you are in, let's say, if you want to work in managerial positions, there are some, Six Sigma or something like that, those kind of additional certifications you can do. If you are in academia, I would suggest doing some research enhancing or research knowledge enhancing courses, which would help you. For example, I'm just giving you example. You don't need to follow exactly what I'm saying, but somebody wants to understand, structural equation modeling. If so, there are certain courses available. You can do that, and that will, give you extra edge as a researcher, because in public health, not many statisticians know about it. Out of public health, a lot of people know. In economics, it is widely used. Management, it is widely used. But in public health, certain, those kind of advanced techniques are rarely used unless and until it is required. So bringing those interdisciplinary knowledge by doing those, those additional courses will be really helpful for you. I did the same. I'm learning new techniques to enhance my portfolio.
Right from the time that I was department chair in health promotion sciences, and now we actually started thinking about some of these questions in terms of skills building. So we have been doing a lot in terms of creating, skills-based courses and programs. Erin, the emergency response program has been created in the past year, and we have several of them. I think having some skills, like I said before, when you graduate from a program similar to ours, I mean, we look at curriculum, we all SIP accredited schools of public health. Students within these programs are learning essentially the same SIP approved curriculum. So you need to distinguish yourself by having these skills. Skills in community organizing, some things that we teach in the class. Sometimes it's not just what we can do for communities, it's our ability to actually mobilize communities to this is something that Dr. Safi could also speak to, understand local politics, understand how to bring people together so they can solve their own problems and achieve sustainability. Those are the kinds of skills, skills in evaluation, for example. Skills in nutrition. We recently created a course on applied field methods in nutrition, so that you are not just talking about the different types of nutrition, but you can do some basic nutritional assessments, even though you are not a nutritionist. As a public health professional, if you find yourself in a situation where maybe in an emergency situation, you should be able to know how to do basic nutritional assessment of young children and vulnerable members of the communities, and be able to recommend some solutions. So the College of Public Health here at the University of Arizona is moving in that direction, creating many certificate courses. I would encourage you to look at some of the certificate courses that we have created recently, especially since the past 2 years. The main goal for creating those certificates is to give people skills, not just certificates to hang on the wall, but just to equip individuals with skills so that they can be, of practical help when they find themselves in the field as public health professionals.
Just a few things that I have been, I sat on over hundreds of interview panels throughout my career. Do you know what are people looking for? This MD, MPH, MBA, MEZCOPH, MDis, that's everybody who applied, they have it. They have it. That's not your thing. The discussion the panel had, how you behave. Are you a trouble person or you're a nice person? Will you do your work or you're a show-off? Will you really follow things to the end? You're a finisher personality-wise, or you're just a starter, a blah, 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 and not finishing things? Are you a good listener? Are you someone who resolves conflicts, or you're someone who creates conflicts? Nobody wants a headache. Nobody wants to hire someone who really cannot really deal, who's arrogant and dealing with the authorities, with the others, and create conflict. So these types of behaviors, and it is coming as your brand and reputation. Please do not underestimate that. If your closest friend thinks that you are not a good listener, the interviewer knows that you are not a good listener. Somebody will tell somebody, and the interviewer will know. So be someone, and one of the things that people are successful, it's grit, starting to the end, not giving up. So and just to support what Dr. Ehiri said in terms of College of Public Health and the thing, I think some of the courses, I'm very biased because I teach all of them, But we teach 4 courses for disasters management and response, and emergency management and pandemic response. It's a disasters management. It is disasters management and response. It's public health, global public health emergency. It's pandemic response. And then another course of leadership. In the leadership, where we look at individual personality traits. You do psychometric tests. You look at your own behavior. It enhances your self-awareness, and it's a 6 months or 15 weeks, slow, coaching program in terms of leadership development. And you get feedback, real life feedback from your peers, from your colleagues, and then you come back to the class. You develop your own individual leadership development plan, and we move forward with it. So these are the type of skill sets that Dr. Ehiri was referring to that we are building. So second thing is, it is the software side. But then in terms of you bring unique value, what I have found lately, if you combine project management with your area of strengths, if you combine an additional language with your area, if you combine a little bit more experience of X and Y and Z, it will make you outstanding. And last thing, please, when you apply for jobs, your CV and your cover letter, the CV that you have prepared 5 years ago, and every time you added 1 bullet with your experience and education, that does not help. People don't read that. The cover letter that please accept my, my application, I am a great candidate, and repetition and regurgitation of your CV, it does not help. Spend time, look at the job description, customize your CV, but don't lie on it. We have a wealth of experience that we need to understand which to pick from. Make sure your cover letter qualify you for the job. And remember, in today's world, 90% of these initial screening are happening by AI. If you do not put the right words of the job description in your application, you're not picked. Finish. Last thing, understand the organization you're applying for, the politics of it. I always give this one example, and this is a very exceptional example, but because it's exceptional, I give this. I needed a chief of a health section. So we were looking for a person. There were 147 applicants, and there was 1 job as a chief of health. And out of 147 applicants, there was 1 person who had a PhD, 2 master's degrees, and 20 years of experience. And we haven't even shortlisted him for an interview. Now that poor man will be thinking with himself 20 years down the line, that why I was not shortlisted, why I was not interviewed. If you understand the internal organizational politics, sometimes organizations are looking for specific requirements to fulfill. I call it GGD, gender and geographic diversity. You look at whether you fit in that profile, what are they looking for? Some of the internal information are useful. And these are the realities. If you do not have these realities and you really don't subscribe to it, this is what it is. There is one way that you say, oh yeah, no, I have a great CV, I have done this DrPH, I will be the gun. Nah, forget about it. It won't help. It will give you the first hand to get there, but then from there onwards, you need to do your homework and go beyond that. So that will be my so this, and I'll be listening to us. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much. It sounds like you've covered a lot of some of the questions that we had on our list here, including how to be a competitive applicant in global health. And I can see in the chat, there's been a lot of recommendations for internships, fellowships and programs. one of our questions that we did want to make sure we ask is, for those who may have tried a variety of different career paths in global health, what are the pros and cons of each field, and why did you end up choosing the field that you were in? I know some of you guys it kind of just happened, but the kind of categories we're looking at is either research, nonprofit, industry, or academia.
I'll go ahead with that. I mean, for nonprofits, I had been a nonprofit person prior to kind of switching careers to global health. It's super important to me, and it always has been, that my work aligns with my personal, mission statement, if you will. I'm a very mission-driven person. So that's CRS really appealed to me because, the entire mission of the organization is to serve the poor and the vulnerable. And I can't think of a better way to use my talents and my education than doing that. So, I've thought here and there about government, occasionally the pay is better. But really, it was super important to me that those things align. And in terms of, maternal and child health, that's kind of what I was exposed to in Peace Corps. So it kind of made sense. I'm interested in, the subject matter, obviously. But I would say that the more that you can kind of diversify, sorry, my sunlight's blocking video here. The more that you can kind of diversify with your coursework. I wish personally that I had taken more monitoring evaluation classes. I arrived in my job and was like, I don't know what a results framework is, things like that. So, you learn on the job, but I think the more that you can get exposure to those sorts of things, the better. But yeah, that's why I chose nonprofit work for sure.
I will also suggest keeping eye on, donor agencies tilt in terms of areas, what kind of areas they are trying to fund, because most of global health work is also, influenced by donor agencies, international donor agencies. So repeated, frequently, maybe 6 months or every month, if possible, try to visit their website, see what kind of, a strategic mission, strategic changes they are bringing forward, what kind of programs they are funding across the globe. That will give you an idea where the field is also moving.
Thank you so much. I know we've kind of taken up too much of your time, but I wanted to express our gratitude for you guys to come and share your experiences. I'm sure all of the students and everyone who attended has, oh, there you go, Dr. Ehiri.
No, Jeff Coach, I just wanted to, in my position as associate dean, I just wanted to make a pitch, just to thank our graduates who made the time to be here. I've heard them talk about the importance of program evaluation. We've created quite a good number of those courses. COVID-19 has really, showed us, it has shown us what we can do online. So, we might be calling upon you to, serve as instructors for some of these online classes that we are developing, so that you can bring some of your field experiences and, current practices to bear on our training program. So I hopefully we'll be reaching out to you in a very short time. But I just also wanted to thank the organizers to say, let this be the beginning. Maybe if you want to make this a series where I think we started some great discussions today that we haven't really had the time to delve into. I really did prepare some maybe list of job opportunities and things like that I wanted to share. So if you want to, off Zoom today, continue along these lines to say, what are some of these opportunities? Like I was looking for Fulbright, World Bank programs and things like that. I would be more than happy to engage the Global Health Alliance in this discussion, or even maybe creating something like a newsletter, quarterly or monthly newsletter, where we can also share some of these experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ehiri. So I think we have somebody who wants to give an announcement as well about our next meeting.
Yes, that's me. Hi. Hi, everybody. We do have another meeting coming up. We will be sending out through the Global Health Alliance. It'll be our final meeting of the year. We will be watching the Paul Farmer video. It will be on Zoom so we can all access it together wherever we're at in the world. And also we'll be holding elections for next year. That is scheduled. I have it right here, but I will go ahead and send it out too. But that's scheduled in the end of April. Sorry, it takes a little bit for my computer. On April 27th, around 6 p.m., we will send out a Zoom link, but please come. And the movie is Bending the Arc. If you haven't seen it yet, it's amazing.
All right, we've provided our email addresses there in the chat if you have any questions. And thank you guys. Thank you again so much. I think we're going to release everybody. I hope we can reach out, or the participants can reach out if they have any more questions or follow up based on the discussion we had today. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.